Right, hello there fans, it's Devoid here again, and I've just making a preliminary video for a couple of changes I'm planning to make on a couple of these Daleks. One is extremely minor, and one is something I feel safe to do. And because in my previous video I mentioned changes I'd made to this Dalek, where I actually, looking at the magazine, sorry about that angles, but this Dalek here, this gold Dalek, it has a gold neck mesh on it, and the models released for that Dalek, they're always wrong. And apart from the new 5-inch larger model that is correct, all of the other versions of this Dalek are wrong. They have a black neck mesh. So I've painted that myself, but one important thing I should say is they're not meant to be painted, these, and unless you really know what you're doing, I would never recommend to paint them. So yes, I've painted this myself because I wanted it to be accurate, but at the same time, don't paint them yourselves because you need to know what you're doing. And the thing is, I'm not saying I'm an expert and anyone watching this isn't, but there's certain things, it's not as simple as just splashing splashing some gold paint on it. You need to make sure you get the right colours. And basically, to describe what I did, I actually got one make of gold paint in a gold leaf because I wanted this metallic effect. But then the first thing I tried was adding a bronzy colour to it, a bronzy gold, and it didn't suit me. But I added a silver, a normal metallic silver to the gold leaf, and the metallic silver was a different make, but it made a colour that matched quite closely. And the neck mesh, the gold neck mesh on this Dalek in the original episode, it isn't exactly the same colour, so it doesn't need to match exactly. But if you ever are to paint any figures like this, you need a few thin coats. It's a lot better than one or two thicker coats, because if you apply thicker coats that are thick enough to cover the paint underneath, because it was black underneath, it's not easy to cover, then you lose your detail. So you're better off. No, most paints aren't made to be used straight out of the pot. They are supposed to be put on a palette and thinned. So that's what you need to do. Thin your paints out and make the right mixture that you're happy with. Let it dry and check it against the model to make sure you're happy with the colour once it's dried. And then apply it in thin coats and just let them dry and then apply it. Leave it as long as the paint says you need to leave it. Sometimes it's a long time, but it needs to be dry between coats, otherwise you'll remove layers. So apply a few thin coats until it builds it up and covers the detail nicely, and not covers the detail, but covers the paint underneath, and it covers so you're not leaving missing spots, you're not leaving black blodges and things underneath. So you need to cover the detail in that sense, but smoothly, and not lose the detail. So that's why a few thinner coats come into it, and it's better than one or two thick coats splashed on, because you'll lose your detail. But at the same time, I don't recommend doing that. But this is the Eaglemoss gold neck Dalek, as it should be. And I mentioned that in a previous video. But one thing I'm going to change that I've noticed is this base on this Dalek from Dalek. I thought it was just some meaningless base, but I'm actually thinking, and I haven't properly checked, but that might be some representation of the anti-gravity, the levitation engines, the hover device. Because I remember seeing in the episode with this Dalek, when it goes up the stairs, you kind of say, sorry about the angle, it's going up the stairs, but you see it from kind of that angle, kind of like that. So you can get a glimpse of what it looks like underneath. So I'm going to have a look, and I'm going to paint that as a Dalek engine for hovering. And I think the colour is light blue, if I remember correctly, but it is as normal, it can't be seen. The figure, it's not going to spoil the figure. And like I say, I'm not telling anyone I recommend doing this. Don't do that. These figures are meant to be ornamental. But I'm going to try that because it won't ruin the figure in any way, and that can be scrubbed clean if I decide against it, or I bodge it up. It can be scrubbed clean or even painted black or anything. It won't destroy the model whatever I do. Whereas something like this, you can't really go back. You're committed, so I wouldn't recommend anyone do that and paint the neck, but I just wanted it accurate, that's all. And it was painted fairly thickly, the black underneath. It wasn't thinned correctly. But these guys, like I say, they probably paint dozens of these things, so they're probably sick of the sight of them. But, like I say, it won't destroy the model whatever happens. It won't affect this figure at all if I paint the engines at the bottom, and it might be a nice little touch, and it's taking advantage of some of the extra detailing, and I think that's probably what it's meant to be. And why not take advantage of this and get a bit more value for money out of it? Why not? But another change, the extremely minor change I was meaning that I mentioned that I wanted to talk about was this guy on here, and on there he has, if you can just see, if I can get it into focus for you, there you go, he's got this little bolt, and it's used to identify, it says the different positions of the rivets and screws on each prop help to act as useful identifiers. And this set has some beautiful details. Like I mentioned in my other video, that the Dalek that had a damaged neck ring, they've represented the repair job done, and that is beautiful. But this one, a lot on here, on the third of these bars, should have a little bolt in the middle. And not having that on, I'm not going to fuss. Obviously, it's ridiculous to expect it, although I did look. Because of the way they'd represented that repair work to the neck ring, I was actually, it might be stupid of me to have looked, but I did actually see if there was a bolt. But what I'm going to do is get a tiny, tiny piece of green putty from my other models that I use. Green putty, it's green, it's yellow and blue putty stuff in a strip, and you mix it and it goes green, and you can work with it, and eventually it'll set, and you can work with it, cut it, file it, paint it, and I use it for Warhammer models. But I'm going to get the most minuscule tiny piece of green putty, roll it into a ball, paint it gold, and I'll dab a tiny, tiny bit of glue on, and I'll put it on there so it's actually accurate in that sense. And I'll make a video of that. I'll make a video of doing that with that little bolt. You might think it's crazy, but just like this, it's one of those little touches that I decided I want to do. And the main point of this video was the initial preliminary video for doing this. Excuse me, and I'm going to paint that as the engines that make Daleks hover. So this is the preliminary video, and I'll let you know how it goes in the second, third, or whatever video as I get to, and let you know how it goes. So thank you for now.